You have to be patient with your vision because just because God has given you the vision, he then has to move people into place to allow the vision to manifest itself.
If you believe we can change the narrative, if you believe we can change our communities, if you believe we can change the outcomes, then we can change the world. I'm Rob Richardson. Welcome to Disruption Now. Welcome to Disruption Now. I'm your host and moderator, Rob Richardson. With me, excited to have my man, Roland Martin, from Roland Martin Unfiltered. He's interviewed presidents. He's now got the only daily digital show that features all things Black, from sports to politics. I have the pleasure and honor of being on a regular contributor on the show. Roland, how you doing, brother?
Man, all good, all good.
What do you think COVID-19 has done? You and I have talked about this. We've talked about COVID-19 really exposing businesses where they're at, the fact that they weren't ready for a moment that was clearly coming. Just talk a little bit about that in terms of Black media and where you think we need to go, and just maybe some experiences you've had in learning from this. Because I can tell you this. I was with Radio One. I did some shows with them. I did a show with them, and I was trying to get them the whole time. This must have been 6-7 years ago. I said, listen, this is what we should do. We should do a podcast, put it out together, work together. I said, I guarantee we'll be able to grow it, because, and it was just like, people were like, they were like, what? It was like they couldn't understand. I was talking like Chinese to them. They were like, what? And so I couldn't do it.
Waste of your breath.
Listen, clearly, I've learned that. But go ahead.
The reason you waste your breath, probably about 3 years before that, I signed with Tom Joyner in 2008. 2010, 2011, we had the next contract. And I said, guys, we need to podcast my commentary. No. We have the player on blackamericaweb.com if folks want to hear it. I said, do y'all understand? Ain't nobody sitting around listening to your player, waiting.
Yeah.
Commentary to come up. Bro, we went back and forth. I mentioned the idea of a podcast network to Alfred Liggins, CEO, nothing. In fact, we were playing golf, and I said, Alfred, we really need to go hard to build a massive Black database.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get to the...
When did you tell him that?
This was, we're playing golf. This is 2012.
You might have lost $1 billion on not pursuing that idea.
This is what I said. I said, Jonathan Rogers, who was the first CEO of TV One. Jonathan is in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame. Brilliant. Was on the board of Nike, Procter & Gamble, Comcast, all these companies. Jonathan said Roland, cable has at best 6 to 10 years left. This was in 2000. Listen, he said in 2012, he said at best 6 to 10 years. So I said, Alfred, we need to be using our radio assets, our digital assets to build a Black database, because if we're able to get our people to subscribe to our own digital channel, then we can bypass the cable deal. Totally blew me off. I was like, okay. So where are we in 2021? NBC, Universal, they are merging cable networks. They're focusing on Peacock.
Yep.
CBS is launching Paramount. They're merging CBS Access and the other networks. You look at HBO Max.
Yep.
They're all looking at streaming.
Correct.
The Black folks are far behind.
And we're the entertainment genesis of all of this stuff.
So what happens is we are moving at a pace of 6 to 10 years behind. So let's take my show. When I launched my show, folks said, Roland, you should do audio podcasts. I said, nah, I'm not going to do that. And my executive producer, Jay Feldman, he's like, Roland, he said, look at all this money audio podcasting. I was like, Jay, I feel you. He said, I've already done it. And it was funny because he was like, what do you mean? Okay, what folks may not realize is that I launched the first Black news source audio podcast in 2005 when I had the Chicago Defenders. I was at a multimedia fellowship at the University of California at Berkeley. And a guy gave it when one of the speakers gave a presentation. He launched a podcasting company called Odeo, Odeo.
Right.
And I'm sitting here and I'm kind of like, now mind you, remember what I tell you, I did radio in high school and college because I saw what was coming. So I worked in radio. I was at KKDA Radio, news director, morning anchor. After I left the Fort Worth Star Telegram, Wells City Hall reporter.
Right.
So I had radio in my background, TV in my background. So I'm sitting in this session, and he's talking about audio podcasting, and I was like, "Oh hell yeah!" We go back to the Chicago Defender. I said, "We're launching an audio podcast. Staff, you don't do any more interviews with celebrities or anyone else unless we record all of them on high quality audio." So we launched the audio podcast. 2005. 2006, we launched the video podcast. When Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the president of Liberia, when she came to Chicago, she had a Q&A she did with Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. at the DuSable. We videotaped it. We uploaded it. That was the video podcast. Why am I laying all of that out? So this guy who comes with this presentation to lay out the podcasting network, his name is Evan Williams. Who is Evan Williams? Evan Williams is the co-founder of Twitter. So here we are in 2005. Now let me show you how black media again.
And how you would have. Can I just say you on that because this operates like real estate. I'll let you finish, but I want to say
there you go.
It operates like real estate. Had we gotten in there early, right, we would have had a much more valuable piece of position. And that would be tenfold what it's worth, 20, 30, 40-fold. Because if you got in 2005 and you're now 2020, now you have all that data you said. Now you're sitting on it and it's worth a lot more.
And you're not watching Spotify cut a deal
Correct.
with Hill for a podcasting network talking black.
Because they got to go through you.
You're not watching Charlemagne do a deal with iHeartRadio because you've already created. And so, and here's the thing. I'm running the Chicago Defender. Again, vision. Podcasting. When you look at the conferences the Atlantic and Politico puts on, that was a part of my plan. All this stuff is laid out. They come to me and they say, "Look, what all this pop? What's all this?" I said, and these are black millionaires out of Detroit.
Yeah,
who made their money in the automotive business. I said, "I need y'all to do me a favor. Y'all have no idea what the hell y'all doing. This is what I do. Let me do what I do, and I guarantee you, I am going to build this newspaper into a national media company." This is what they said to me, Rob. "Look, we just want to be a small community paper." I said, "I gotta go."
Yeah.
I said, y'all have the only person who is appearing on national television. There's nobody else in a black newspaper making national TV appearances. You're getting free marketing and y'all gonna let that walk out of the door? Y'all out your mind. A year later, they came, "Dude, we screwed up. We screwed up." They've been apologizing to me. Every time I see one of their people, they've been apologizing since 2000. I left in 2007. They've been apologizing, bro, for now 14 years. Because it was 14 years next month.
Yeah.
14 years because they did not see it and they didn't listen to the person who saw it. And look, and today the Chicago Defender no longer prints. It's a joke of a paper. They don't cover.
And that story repeats over with Ebony, with Jet.
Go down the line.
We have these strong.
Go down the line. Go down the line. Go down the line. Go down the line. Just go. You can just go down the line.
Yeah, you can. And so, but that offers new opportunities for us, for you, because
But my show got canceled.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
I have a quick question for you, just on that point. Knowing what you know now, this kind of goes back to that question earlier. Would you maybe have gone off and ventured off on your own and just started it and just did it earlier?
No.
Okay.
Here's why. Everything is about you have to understand when you're ready.
Yeah.
I signed with CNN in 2007. We did several pilots in 2007. I remember sitting down in September 2007 with Jim Walton, who was the worldwide CEO of CNN.
Okay.
And Jim said, "Roland, we think you are a better counterpuncher than puncher." And what he was saying is, we think you are a better panelist contributor than show host. I go, I know. He goes, I said, I know. I'm not ready to host a show. So what I need you to do, I need you to get me with your talent coaches. I need you to give them notes on what I need to work on. See, remember, I'm going back to high school. Work on your skill set development. I need to know what I need to work on so I can be ready for a show host. He calls my agent. He says, that was not how I expected the conversation to go.
Yeah.
So we then go through the whole deal, Rob. We're sitting here going through this. And then all of a sudden, 2008, I'm hosting more shows. By December 2008, Glenn Beck leaves, and I said, I know I'm ready. And I hit them up. I filled in for Campbell Brown for 2 months. It was a miserable experience because they put handcuffs, shackles, duct tape on me, and I couldn't do me. Right. So they had me. I was playing a game. I was playing baseball. I'm left-handed with a right-handed glove, and everything, the uniform didn't fit. Nothing worked. But I knew I was ready to at least host a weekend show.
Right.
They told me, we're not going to give you a weekend show. I wasn't even 100 feet out of the office before I was on the phone with Jonathan Rogers saying they're not going to launch one. He said, we're going to launch one. Why am I saying that? 2012, Wanya Lucas is now the CEO. Jonathan retired. I said, it's time for a daily show. I'd hosted the Sunday show for 3 years. I knew I was ready. By hosting News One Now for 4 years, everything that my career brought me to this point, radio, television, newspaper, weekend show, digital, daily show, morning drive radio show, midday show, all the pieces. Now the industry had gotten to a point where all the forces converged so that the thing that I wanted to do, the situation now had been created. So I could not have been able to to launch the show because the podcasting piece had not matured to the point where it became readily accepted from advertisers.
Sure.
The technical piece had not come in where, remember, when I launched, we were dealing with 3G. That when we started the Sunday morning show and then News One Now, then we were to the point of 4G moving towards 5G.
Right.
60% of the people who watch Roland Martin Unfiltered watch on a mobile device.
Absolutely.
So I took, and the relationships that I built up from CNN, Sunday morning show on TV One, daily show on TV One, WVON radio, all those experience, contacts, political relationships, business relationships, all came together at the appropriate time. So when I launched, I go out and I present to AFSCME and I lay out, this is the vision that I have. This is how I built my social media up. They called me back the next day and said, we're in for the first $250,000. Oh, by the way, AFSCME president is an alpha. So alpha helps too. So the point is to anybody listening, you have to be patient with your vision, because just because God has given you the vision, he then has to move people into place to allow the vision to manifest itself. So the only thing I would have done differently is that I would have been far more aggressive. I would have figured out through my contract and been far more aggressive in building out my YouTube channel. Because when we launched my show in September 2018, I had 157,000 subscribers. A year earlier, when we really started paying attention to the YouTube channel, we only had 75,000. So the only thing I would have done is gone back. So when I was focused on building my Twitter page and my Facebook page, I would have been building the YouTube channel, because today we're at 730,000 subscribers. Had I done that, I think we probably would be sitting at 1,000,000, 1,000,025, 1,000,005, and we'd be in a much better position today. That's the only thing I would do differently, which is why when people come to me and they're talking about trying to do their content, they're like, yeah, on Instagram. I said, no, do not do that. I said, because financially, Instagram's business model, you ain't making money.
No.
Facebook's model is the only, out of all the platforms, the absolute best in terms of fair share with content creators is YouTube, because you get 55%, they get 45%, and folks like, yeah, but I'm creating it, yeah, but you're not, you don't have to hire a sales team, all sort of stuff. So I tell everybody, build your YouTube channel, because that is going to give you the economic base to be able to build from there.